In this and the next few movies, we'll continue working with walls and begin laying out a 2-bedroom condominium unit. So we're going to apply what we've learned in some of the previous movies and apply it here to an actual floor plan. What I'm working with here is a file called Locating Walls, and all it contains is the outline perimeter of the unit. And what we're going to focus on is the interior partitions. We'll start on the Architecture tab with the Wall tool. You can type WA or you can click on the tool. And over here on the Properties palette, I want to change the wall type to an interior type partition. And so there are several different sizes here, and I'm going to choose this one, 4 7/8 inch partition. So that's roughly a 5-inch partition, and it's basically a stud with a layer of drywall on each side, which is a pretty standard interior construction. Now I'm going to leave all the height settings. It's going to be going up to level 2, and I'm going to stick with the center line location line. I find that to be the most logical choice for interior partitions. Now, if you move your mouse near an existing wall, what you'll see is that Revit will automatically snap to that geometry. So it's finding the center line of this wall, and it's even giving me a little temporary dimension here. Now, I'm not terribly concerned with the exact number. Roughly 10 feet is close enough. So I'm going to click right at that location, move my mouse down to about right here, and then pull it back over in this direction here. I didn't actually do that terribly precisely. I just sort of roughed in the shape that I was after, and that might be a little bit surprising to you. But I want you to recall that the Revit approach to layout is to sketch and then modify. So we rough it out in roughly the configuration we're looking for, and then we come back and we modify it using a variety of techniques. And so on that basis, I also need something about like this, and a couple walls right here, and a little closet in this location here. And what you'll see is I can very quickly lay out this entire half of the floor plan without too much effort being expended, and then I can simply come back and make additional modifications. Now I actually need one more wall in this location right here, which is going to eventually be a bathroom area. So that's my rough layout for this side of the plan. Let me cancel out of the command using either the Modify tool or double escape, and now let's start to clean up the layout. And I'm going to use temporary dimensions as the first way to do this. So I'm going to start with this wall right here. When I select that wall, you may recall from some of our previous movies that temporary dimensions will appear. You may also recall that Revit chooses the witness line locations by default. And in this case, we can see that it goes to the center line of each of these walls. Now we have these little grips right here that Revit displays for us. And if you recall, we can select those. And each time you click on them, they actually move the witness line location to a new location. So I'm going to click those several times until it goes to the inside faces of that space right in there. And you can see that it's giving me a somewhat random dimension right now, 9 foot 7 1/8 inches in my case. Your result may vary slightly. Well, I'm going to just click in that number and put in 9 feet. And the wall that I have selected will move to that new location. I'm going to repeat the process here with this wall. Click the witness line grips to get it to the insides of this bedroom, select that number, and make it 10 feet. And that will again move that wall. Now here's a very common mistake that a lot of folks will make. They now want to set the size of this closet here, and so they immediately go to this dimension and put in their new number. But what you'll notice is the same wall that I had selected just moved and actually messed up the number that I previously typed. So I'm going to select that number again and reset it back to 10. What did I do wrong? Always remember to select the object that you want to move. Notice that gives me a new set of dimensions. They're to similar points. So I'll click my witness lines. And now I can click in here and make that 8 feet. So it's really important that you always start by selecting the object that you actually want to move before you edit the dimension. Now this is moving along just fine, and I could continue in this fashion to position the rest of the walls, but it might be feeling a little tedious to have to constantly move those witness lines. So what I want to talk about next is a setting that we can modify to change the behavior of our temporary dimensions. In the background here, up here at the very top of my screen on the QAT, I have my Switch Windows command, And in the background here, I have another file open called temporary dimensions. And this file is included with the exercise files if you want to open it up, or you can just watch here because really this file is just about concepts. What I have here is an illustration of the various temporary dimension settings. So the default behavior is to go to center as we were seeing in the other file, but we can change the setting to go to either the finished face or to the core face. We also can change the way it behaves when it comes to openings like doors and windows. The default behavior is to go to the center line of doors, but we can change it to do something more like this, where it goes to the openings of doors. The setting for that is on the Manage tab, on the Additional Settings, all the way down here at the bottom, this command called Temporary Dimensions. And let me just move this dialog out of the way a little bit here. And what you can see is for walls, we have these 4 settings: center lines, finish face, core interior, and we have these 2 settings for doors and windows: center lines and openings. So my preference is for it to actually go to the faces of the walls and the openings of doors and windows. So you'll get this sort of behavior for doors and windows, and you'll be out here at the face for walls. So I'm going to cancel here, go back to my switch windows, go back to my locating walls drawing file, Manage tab again, Additional Settings, Temporary Dimensions, and I'm going to choose Faces and Openings. When I click OK and I select the new wall, you'll now see the difference in behavior. The temporary dimensions are automatically going to the inside faces of the wall now instead of to the centers, which means I can go in and immediately change that number, and it's going to make these modifications move a little bit more quickly. These 2 bathrooms are both 5 feet. This one right here as well. And this closet here, I'll make that 7 feet. And I'll make this 2'6". Now remember, to do 2'6", you do 2 space 6, or you do 2 feet 6. So using the temporary dimensions, you can manipulate the positions of the walls. So you sketch and then modify, and you can quickly move the positions of the walls to a more precise location. You can either manually manipulate the witness line grips, or you can use the temporary dimension setting on the Manage tab to change the behavior so that it always goes to the faces of the walls, which is usually a little bit more convenient.